Watch Your Story, I had a chance to sit down with a man who has impacted the world, not only naturally, but also through his art, stuff that we could certainly use more of in these times. We begin our story with Broussard's own Frederick Nelson, who got his start at the tail end of World War II. It's hard to tell the story of Frederick Nelson.
But my whole life has been interesting, my parents' life and mine and so forth.
Because after talking with him for just a little bit, you realize that there's a lot more to Frederick than you could possibly tell in a single story. Graduating high school in Texas during the closing moments of World War II.
I was there in the tail end of it, and I was very lucky because the first thing the Japanese wanted to do was get rid of that rear gunner.
Frederick joined the Navy as a crew member on the Navy's Dauntless dive bomber.
That dive bomber was the best plane the Navy had, in my opinion.
Preparing and training for the invasion of Japan.
I was ready to go, but thank God it ended when it did. You know, else I would have probably been in serious trouble somewhere along the way. We would have lost another 1 million men if we'd have tried to invade Japan. But thank God we didn't.
During training, news arrived that would change the world. The dropping of the bomb and the end of the war. And Frederick certainly remembers the moment.
I was in Memphis, Tennessee when that happened. And it was a great relief to all of us. In some ways, we're almost disappointed we didn't get to go, you know what I mean?
After the war, Frederick got both a bachelor's and master's in physics at the University of Texas. He would eventually go on to get his PhD and started fixing the world where he could.
But I reflected on my experiences in the oil industry and came up with these patents.
Inventing solutions, not just to problems in the oil field, but for fishing and even measuring reaction time.
You hold the baseline here and the person testing it holds it here by the edges so it falls freely. And you look at the shutter line. When it falls, you react as fast as you can. Bear Bryant used my reaction timer to clear his athletes.
He's brought beauty into the world, both natural.
When I bought the 48 acres out here, I planted 4,000 trees.
By building up his own backyard paradise.
I changed the whole picture of the place out here by planting those trees, and it's beautiful now, and beautiful bottom.
But also through art, picking up the art of poetry from his father, whose poems he can still recite to this day.
May I recite one of his poems for you?
Yeah.
And feel the change take place when trust and gratitude erase the doubt and sadness from some dejected one, fills the heart with sweet incense, changes a man from churl to prince, and showers on him the recompense of a village simpleton. To me, that's a profound poem.
Your dad wrote that?
My dad wrote that.
And it's through his poems that you get a true sense of who he is. And summing up his life is best done by him, through his own art.
Just let me have my quiet moods and fake not what I feel. Let me live my love for life with values that are real. Let me seek and find good friends with whom to spend free time. Let me share a flask of wine and shun the shallow climb. Let there be one gentle soul who needs a tender love. Let me give it tenderly when we're hand in glove. I don't wish to be like those who try to reach too high, and so I'll stay a wee bit strange and let them wonder why. But that's my philosophy of life in a nutshell.
In Broussard, I'm Daniel Phillips, KTC, TV3. You can find a book of Frederick's poetry out there. I highly recommend checking it out. And I did want to give a disclaimer here that story was shot over a week ago before we started imposing a lot of the restrictions that we have now in lieu of the COVID-19 virus. I also want to say that until further notice, Watch Your Story will be on hiatus until we can get through this period in our history. There is a long archive, though, of Watch Your Story. We have plenty of them online. And every Wednesday on my Facebook page, I'll go back to the archives. I'll pull up some of my old favorites. We can share those and get us through. And again, as soon as all of this coronavirus and all the restrictions and everything are lifted, we are going to be right back at it. There's more GMA coming up after this.